Hi everyone, hope you are having a wonderful day. This is Tony here at the Lawazi Hackathon. Here I have one of our participants with us. So tell us about yourself.
Okay, so hi Tony and hi everyone. So my name is Anwani Siwada and I am currently a training coordinator at the University of Cape Town. And just a bit about myself. So my background is in biology. I did a BSc in biological science, and then I did an honors in human genetics and a master's in human genetics, and that's how I got introduced to bioinformatics. And then for me to then venture off into the training side, it's because of my background in bioinformatics and my interest in actually building capacity in that regard. I then joined the team, and we've been busy doing training to build capacity in bioinformatics through IBT, and the most recent one with Idwazi was variant coding, where it's more of an intermediate course where we basically taught people how to use the command pipeline and how to use containers to analyze genomic data. But yeah.
Okay, so Owani, you sort of speak about your background as in sort of biology or sort of more molecular side.
Yes.
And then you sort of transition into the computational biology aspect.
Yes.
And I think that's very similar to a lot of the people in this field, right? Because there isn't a bioinformatics course in high school or undergrad university.
Yeah.
You sort of only get exposed to that at a postgraduate level. Just talk to us about your experience, how that transition is, were there any challenges?
Okay, so I got exposed to bioinformatics in undergrad at the University of Witwatersrand. They actually have a third year module that's applied bioinformatics. So that is like basically my foundation to bioinformatics. And then after that, for honors, I did human genetics, but my project was bioinformatics. So basically, my bioinformatics journey started in third year and not post grad. So that was like a good advantage to that. But the transition wasn't that hectic, except when you got to the later stages where now it's like not just the applied side, because you know how bioinformatics, there's like a wide range in terms of being a user or like being the one that builds pipelines to building the tools. So I think the more I got into it, the more I realized that wait, it's not just about using all these applications. There's actually people who build the applications. There's all of this and getting excited. The more I went on, like got to master this, and it's like okay, I had to build pipelines, and that was a bit of a tricky one rather than just using tools that are already there to analyze the data. But yeah, I hope I answered your question by just the transition became a bit tricky. Not tricky, but like I realized that, whoa, there's this entire world to bioinformatics, not just the analyzing part. And I think sometimes people aren't aware of, like, I guess, the spectrum of bioinformatics that's available. Yeah, people just might think that it's, oh, we've got the command line and we just like analyzing that data from these. That's about it. But there's actually people who build the tools because they also understand the science and yeah.
Yeah, I think as you said, there's a lot of technical aspect like coding, syntax, and many people find that very challenging, almost intimidating.
Yes.
So what sort of advice would you give someone?
Um, I am a huge believer in community. So if you like struggling, try to get people who already know. Like I think with bioinformatics, the easiest way is to get into things and actually get people who already know about that. Don't try to do it alone because it will be a hectic journey. So for me, asking people who already when I was in masters, I depended a lot on the PhD students and like other people who or maybe have a computer science background who understand the coding more. So I would just say ask people and work with people. Try to not do it alone because it makes the journey a bit tricky when you're just sitting alone and you don't understand the code and you're like, what's going on here? So
I see. So you sort of need to surround yourself with expertise and ensure that you have mentors that help you along the way.
yes, I would really suggest someone does that. And sometimes it's not even like trying to get someone who's an expert. Sometimes it could be just a peer who knows something better than you do. For example, say I'm more knowledgeable with VCF, how to do variant calling. but you are very knowledgeable with containerization. Like I can learn that from you. Like it doesn't have to be, a senior expert. There's because we've got different skills. We learn different skills in our different projects. I'm able to learn something from you. That's why I'm like never work in isolation. Try to understand. Oh, what project are you doing? And then you learn from that.
I see, I see. So, I mean, you talked about doing your studies at Wits University. Now you
Yes.
sort of work at the University of Cape Town. You know,
Yes.
being a young working professional, also a woman in science, you now facilitate learning and sort of knowledge sharing. And I don't know if you've seen that this is more a male dominated field, so there's much less female in terms of ratio. So what advice would you give, young girls or young undergrad students that want to, especially women that want to pursue, science?
Sheesh. Um, I'm careful in saying this, right? I think when a lot of women are said to be risk adverse and
Yes,
whatnot. Sometimes really like you look at things and like, okay, I can't seem to do this and you don't want to challenge yourself.
right.
Just understand that bioinformatics is really you're always going to be pushing yourself to learn something because even though you think you've clocked something, there'll be a different tool in that specific area that you're working on. So really open up yourself to learning, like yeah, and teach yourself to learn, like, but be open minded with things. Do not be fearful or just want to be in the comfort zone because I think bioinformatics does not really allow that. There's always learning. Even the experts are always learning because there's always a different tool that's coming out. So I would just say, yeah, don't be afraid to learn and keep enriching yourself with knowledge. Yeah. And be yeah, like ask. I think asking is also a very big thing. It might not be just a female thing, but a lot of people feel like, oh, what will they think if I don't know the specific thing? I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or something. It's like, okay, I don't know this. Like a lot of people don't know stuff. The best thing is to ask, and people are so open to helping. Like, yeah. So that's my advice. Don't be afraid to ask. Yeah.
Okay. And you obviously are now doing training or capacity building.
Yes.
How are you seeing sort of the landscape, sort of science that's changing in Africa, in South Africa?
So in terms of bioinformatics, I think it's just even like worldwide, people are realizing that bioinformatics is an integral part of science. Like even whatever field you somehow end up having to now learn some aspect of biology, and so yeah, I think it's just the growth of the field in the continent, and yeah, I just what's the word? I lost my train of thought. But basically, with the way Africa is moving, it really is moving to a place where it's like heavily computational. But also, don't undervalue your lab skills. If you're more on the lab side, do not undervalue those. Those are very important. Because sometimes I think, okay, this is out of yeah. But sometimes because you've got a biological background, you feel like you don't know, and maybe in the field, in the bioinformatics field, you might not be as valuable because you don't like code as much. But your knowledge, your biological knowledge is really important because if you can have the tools, but if you don't understand the science behind it, like it doesn't really help. So yeah, don't feel like all your work, all your years of building your genetic knowledge, your what do you call this proteomic knowledge is gonna be disregarded when you're in the field of bioinformatics. That's also important because yeah, you have to shape the tools towards the science the questions you're trying to answer. And you find that people with the computational background, they don't fully understand that aspect. And that's why you need someone with a biological background. Well, that's just, yeah.
Yeah, I think you put it quite elegantly, right? Since the NGS technology, the breakthrough about
Yeah.
15, 20 years ago, there's a huge surge in this sort of new generation of scientists being able to do computational data analysis and especially coding aspect. And as you say, even if you study computer science, you still need to have that biological understanding to be able to interpret the data or be
Yes.
able to analyze the downstream analysis
Yeah.
and be able to present, reasoning or logic to policymakers, to healthcare professionals. And in terms of, how you view the world, we are in this sort of fourth industrial revolution, the digital age.
Yes.
There's new technologies emerging. There's hot topics like AI, blockchain. How do you see these fascinating, new integration being embedded into science?
Sure. Okay, blockchain, I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's still like a black box that I've been saying I'm gonna like tap into and try to learn about. But in terms of AI, I feel like it's undeniable. AI is literally in every way, and AI is not really there to, I guess, take over our thinking capacity. I think because some people are afraid that, oh my gosh, AI is going to take over our jobs and whatnot. But it's literally there to make things simple. Like there's so many breakthroughs or things that have been made simpler because of AI. And so I think people should be open in how do we then integrate, because I just think it leaves more room for creative thinking.
Right.
Yeah, like AI will help with the processes, simplify processes that can be done already, but like it leaves room, especially as scientists, like there's so much more creativity that you can now, I guess, tap into with AI. Like, yeah, even though some people you cannot build a tool immediately and you'd be worrying about how can I like get someone to do this tool, but like because of AI you can quickly build something and then focus on the science or focus on what you're answering rather than trying to put together the elements to get, yeah, what you want. So I think I genuinely feel like I'm pro AI. Also, though, with caution, because, yeah, we still need to, I think, fully understand the legal side of it and, yeah, the not so positive implications that could come with AI. But overall, I think AI is a good tool. I wouldn't say like, yeah, it takes over everything.
Yeah, I think you have said it right there. I mean, AI is a new-ish technology. I mean, two, 3 years ago, we got access to ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and since then, there's a fast adoption of AI. We don't really fully understand the full consequence or the negative connotations associated with
With
it.
AI.
So we need to be careful how we use it, but also realizing that it is a powerful tool and we need to figure out how to incorporate it in science or analysis to assist us.
Yes.
Okay, I think as we sort of coming towards the end of this interview, I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
So my second last question to you is, I don't really get to speak to a lot of women scientists just because there's more male in the field, and I just want to sort of give our audience an anchor. Most, especially the most tribes in Africa, they sort of expect the woman to raise a family, to be at home, whereas the male are sort of the breadwinners. And I think that's sort of systemic or legacy from the past. So how do you see that at all? And how do you think the new generation or the next generation of women scientists, how do they sort of overcome that or deal with that?
Sheesh. Okay, this is I think it's a bit layered that I don't think I can fully answer it because I think, to be honest, I grew up in a generation where there's been a lot of females around me. So I think I have seen, I guess, the growth of of the field being less of a male dominated
Okay.
space and more like all my lecturers that I can remember, most of them are female. I can count the male lecturers that I have. My supervisors have been female. So, in the groups that I've been around, it's female. So for me, I don't. I guess because of the spaces that I've been in, it feels like a female dominated, and I think we are growing in terms of female domination in science as well. So I don't know. I don't think I can really, speak much into that
Okay.
because I guess, yeah,
No problem. So obviously your environment shapes your perspective, and because you're not
exactly.
exposed to that, it doesn't really trouble you as much.
Yeah, as I think it wouldn't be fair for me to say you should try do this because it's not something I've been lucky enough to have a lot of to be in female dominated
Have role models
spaces.
and support.
Exactly.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is happening, and for those who aren't in those spaces yet, there is like the possible.
Pressure from
Exactly.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big issue that
Yeah.
obviously you need to overcome and deal with.
Yeah. I can imagine that.
Yeah, so I think the last question I have for you is, we have seen how much Africa as a whole relies on the global north, right? I mean, a few months ago, we had, the US president pulling out the NIH funding to most of the African countries.
Yeah.
And Africa as a whole has, more than 50 countries. There's huge number of people with much talent and opportunities limited. So, what do you think, the next generation of scientists should do to elevate themselves so that, in the next 10, 20 years, they will be able to reach the pinnacle or the top of their professional field and also uplift their own villages and communities so that, Africa can be at the global or center stage of innovation and science?
Sheesh. The last two questions are a bit tricky to me. But yo, what would I actually be?
Do you think, like, for example, more training is needed, more government regulation to ensure that, successful candidates that complete their postgrad don't go to Europe or America, they stay in, their own institutions? What sort of advice do you think you can give someone who want to go into the field of science? How sort of position themselves?
I really, maybe the advice that I would give it, because I feel like there's so many elements to this. Yeah,
Problem.
to this problem, because I can't just say, yeah, don't move away, but like there aren't a lot of job opportunities in
Yes.
Africa, so it's also a bit tricky in that regard. But I think even if you move away, still thinking of Africa, like, because sometimes you'd move away, but not with the goal of coming back. Like the diaspora, I feel like we should always come back and try to build capacity in Africa with the knowledge that we all, what do you call this, obtain. And I think with the knowledge that we have, try to like whatever spaces you occupy, try to kind of advocate for Africa. You never know how it will then translate. It'll then translate to, in the future. Because right now, as a young person, I feel like I do not have the power.
Sure.
But at some point, we're growing up, we've got our peers taking critical positions and whatnot. At that point, you will have a voice to say, listen, this field is important. Let's try to grow it and like have a voice within powerful space, if that makes sense. But like, don't I believe not in connections because that makes it sound like, but just the people around you speak confidently about what the field that you're in. And I think at some point we'll get to a point where people actually recognize the importance of biology and what do you call this, and bioinformatics in Africa. Yeah, so I think it's just more about bringing awareness. Currently, I think as youth, that's what we can do. Yeah, bringing awareness to the importance of biology. Because I think in Africa, that's in the north, they've kind of understood the importance of genomics and they've implemented it in different ways. Versus in Africa, I still think that it's a very
New field.
new field that people don't understand. So I think what we should do is then be the voice, be the voice of genomics, speak about genomics and bring awareness to genomics and bioinformatics. And then as the years go by, I think that the need of genomics or bioinformatics in Africa will be heard. People will understand what we're trying to do. So that's, I think as a young person, that's what you can do right now. Don't just because other people are doing accounting and economics is important, but what we do is also important to the world. Yeah.
No, I think you summarized it up quite perfectly. In this space and this time, there must be voices or changing agents such as yourself that brings opportunity through training, opportunity through open science to ensure that the next generation or the scientific community is growing to be able to be knowledgeable around data science, around genomics, and for them to be able to see how they can upgrade their own skill set to better themselves.
Yeah.
No, it was very nice talking to you.
Thank you, Tony,
Thank
for
you.
this. Bye.